one of the most prolific publishers within the marginalized community was Jerris Madison, and he took his own photos. He set up his own activations. He even laid out his own print issues. So it was like being a friend of his.
Yeah, so Jerris and I actually can't remember exactly how we met, but I had known about Obvious Magazine and what he was doing with that. I had a couple of friends who were on the cover, who were featured, and stuff like that. And so I don't remember how we exactly met, but I did actually write for the publication a few times. This had to be probably close to 10 years ago. And so Jerris really kind of gave me the opportunity to, get my writing done. And, he was so wholesome and welcoming with that. And, we were able to even work together with Kiss and Tell and have him on a panel of him sharing his story. And I remember when he actually told me that he was diagnosed with cancer and that they would have to potentially remove, his leg because of that. And ultimately did remove, part of his leg and, hoping that that would solve everything. And, of course, cancer, I know several people who have had that trajectory in life and, it comes back and we never know. So, but I'm happy that we were able to share so many great memories. I remember visiting him when he was recovering in New York. He was on the Upper East Side. He was like in a church and we ran around the city and took pictures and he wanted to shoot me in Central Park. And, I could tell that he was kind of wanting to get back in the groove of himself because he was such a creative person and such a wholesome person. And he's still with us today, just in a different way. And, energy doesn't die, it transfers. And I believe that he's still here looking out over us.
So, wow, that's awesome. I didn't know you guys worked so closely together in terms of you writing for the publication. What types of things were you writing for the publication?
Oh my goodness. I don't even remember. It was that long ago. Probably something along the lines of, entertainment and just covering things. But I mean, I'm grateful for him for that just because that was my introduction really to writing. I've used writing as a platform I've worked for other publications, HIV Equal, even wrote a book. And now feature films and movies. And so, that was such a huge beginning to my writing career. And I think
So I guess it's safe to say that he inspired you to,
absolutely.
Yeah. And do you know how many others did he inspire? Because he definitely inspired us at 360 and myself included.
Oh my goodness, so many people. Gerald Stevens was also mutual friends of ours. He taught Milan Christopher, Justin Smollett, all the people who are really in the industry who are like doing it big. And, everybody knew Jerris. He was just such a wholesome person. And, even when he did pass, I had so many people, text me saying like, wow, like my introduction to Jerris was through you, through, Kiss and Tell or from Obvious Magazine. And, even just as an indirect way that he was able to touch them and just have an influence on them. So he was just a natural and wasn't even trying about it. He was just a very like genuine, authentic person, like a sweetheart. And I know people that when people pass, like, oh, he was this, but he actually really was that person and just like authentically genuine. I mean, another friend actually that shot the poster for our film Beyond a Buck was another friend, Dexter, that I met through him as well. So he just knew everybody. Jen, and it was just everybody of all walks of life, black, white, gay, straight, men, women, trans women, like that was his group.
How important do you think what he was doing in the industry? How important do you think what he was doing? I guess how important was it, and what types of doors did it open? Because I feel like for me the publication was very had a model vibe to it. It was like a marginalized model publication, and it had like he always constantly was in the forefront of. It was almost like a printed version of Top Model, so to speak.
Yeah.
He always had like those model searches all the way back in the day through Model Mayhem, all the way to the present. He always had these prolific
Model
covers.
Mayhem.
Yeah, back in the day. And then he always had those beautiful covers. And I love this art direction and this creative direction. And I think people don't understand that those are things that you have to learn and you have to have it. It has to be innate, it has to be a
Yeah, of
talent.
course.
And I feel like Jerris, he was such a talented person. People don't realize, how much talent it takes to understand not only how to take a picture, just how to do a campaign from conceptualization to actually execution. And so I feel like with Jerris, he was able to do that so effortlessly, and it still baffles me today to the point where we're now taking we're following his footprints and a lot of us are doing covers and doing photo shoots. We've always done shoots before, but it's just now we're more hands-on. We're using our own equipment. And we
Hmm.
understand the importance of a skeleton crew, and I definitely understood what Jerris was doing from when he started his publication. When I saw it, I was like, whoa. And I remember he was with Crave as well, another magazine publication.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, with a guy named
Yeah.
Will. And
Hmm.
Will, and yeah, and I remember he branched off and he was like, I'm coming to LA or something, but I didn't really know him. But how important do you think what he was doing that was how important do you think, I guess the footprints that he laid were important to the marginalized
Hmm.
media community?
Yeah, I mean, I think that at the time, I think now we're living in a different era where queer people are more accepted in mainstream. At that time, there really wasn't a space for that level of professionalism. There was a lot of space, I should say, of that level of professionalism that were out there when it came to just Black queer people. Obvious Magazine was so inclusive. It was a lifestyle magazine, and the people who were on the cover were people who wouldn't get opportunities on Vogue and GQ magazine at that time. That was something that was unheard of. And now it's a different time now in 2023, but 10 years ago, 15 years ago, like that wasn't a thing. And Jarvis is really just adamant on being inclusive and also telling a story too. Like we love the beautiful pictures and the fab models, but obviously was also a space to have like really conscious conversations as well, which was also a really unheard of back then. And so it really did it was really a blueprint for a lot of media that exists now and gave opportunity for people, including myself, to have conversations on a professional level that were just authentic, that were fun, that were meaningful, that were relatable, and that were just good content.
What was one of your most favorite moments with Jerris?
Let me see. Honestly, I feel a little emotional right now. It was the first time I saw him after his surgery. Like I said, he was living in New York, and I was at the time I was living in LA, and I flew out to New York, and me and his other friend Raven went to go visit him. I could tell that he was a little bit down and out about, losing a limb, but he was in such great spirit. And just to see the tenacity of someone who was going through all those things and like pushing them through a wheelchair through Fifth Avenue to Central Park and just having this like a great authentic day no matter what the circumstances was. He would never be like, he would say it like, this is hard for me, but his energy was always upbeat and it was always positive. And so that day sticks out to me specifically. There are other great moments like birthday parties that were celebrated, things that we did, even me visiting his house in West Hollywood. We moved out here and it's just cutting up and having a good time. But that particular one sticks out to me the most just because I didn't really know what I was walking into, just because someone that goes through something that life altering, you don't know how they're going to be. And he was such a light through it all. And so I thank him for just reminding me that life is really precious and you have to accept every single moment of it to the best.
Wow, yeah, he really did that for a lot of people. And my first involvement with him, or my first encounter it was a long time ago where I had my first in person encounter rather. It was about 8 or 9 years ago when we did LA Men's Fashion Week downtown Los Angeles,
Hmm.
and we had an activation. He came, and I was like, I remember this. I remember his name. I remember Obvious,
Yeah.
and I remember we did this real fun thing as a media sponsor. We had this table. As soon as you walked in, you showed your little media pass, whatever, to come into the fashion show. And basically we kind of like we were at a meet and greet table and we had like
Hmm.
magazines and I was there and I had a little blazer on and I was, being my professional version of myself.
Yeah.
with sneakers on and a blazer. And Jerris was like, whoa. And then I was talking to him and he'd never seen a 360 in person or something. And we were talking. And then we had Brian Perry, a hair editor at the time. We had a former icon and tattoo artist named Baba X. And Baba was doing these tattoos and Brian was putting his hair chalk. They were doing like these mini makeovers. And
Hmm.
so for me, in order for me to really to get you into the mood, I would give people shots by one of our sponsors, and then I'll make you a cocktail. And Jerris was like, I really don't drink, but
Uh-huh.
okay. So he just
Yeah.
had a drink and he had another drink and another drink. He's like, are those real tattoos? I was like, yeah, we're doing real tattoos as a courtesy, first come, first serve. And Jerris was like, he kept looking, and everybody was like, "Oh my god, oh my god!" And so he was like,
Mm.
this is so bomb. I've never seen this happen before at activation." So
Oh my
Jerris ended up
gosh.
getting some kind of floral tattoo, some kind of tattoo with colors. Mind
Hmm.
you, we told everybody only single color tattoos or just do black tattoos so we can get, quarter size. Jerris tattoo was like, two, like double the size or something. And I was like,
Right.
forget it. I was like, forget it. And then we pushed him ahead of the line and whatever, because we would run out of time. And then the tattoo artist was like, no, it's okay, we'll do him. So he did the tattoo, and it was just like, we popped his tattoo, we popped his cherry in terms of being a tattoo version. so,
Yeah, yeah.
so it was really
That's
cool.
such a fun story. And that's just funny. Even when you were mimicking him, I could hear him saying that his voice because that's definitely how he was. So that's such a
Yeah.
beautiful memory. And thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, and we're both are from Detroit. So yeah, I remember that the magazine publishing world, you get sucked up into it. It's not that we don't want to work with each other, a part of each other, it's that we get sucked up into this world. It's like, there's so many different divisions of a lifestyle publication people don't understand. So you get sucked into travel, sucked into auto, sucked into food, sucked
Hmm.
into fashion, sucked into design. Now we're doing eco-friendly designs. It's just a lot of upcycling, all this stuff. And then but Jerris, one thing he said to me, he was like, he said, and he also said in a recent interview that we did with him, because of
Hmm.
what I just stated, is that I feel like I've always wanted to make a bridge with other marginalized publications that were doing something, and I felt like what he was doing was so similar in type to what we're doing. And then he was saying he agreed. And he was saying, I said, but your approach is more hands-on, as a model, and you're the photographer. And he was like, yes, yes, and it's still lifestyle of the talent. And I said, yes, and it's so cool. And then our approach was it's just more the same energy, very
Yeah.
UK vibe-ish. And he said that recently he loved the fact that he was a fan of our publications. And I thought that was so cool in the recent podcast we did with him. And I was just really like, I didn't really understand the magnitude of that until you start to write your own content, create,
Yeah.
when you create your own content, do your own layouts. That's a whole nother level. And also, it makes you a powerhouse, so to speak. Of course, you burn
Hmm.
the candle at both ends
Yeah.
sometimes, but at the same time, you protect yourself, you protect your investment as a person that's investing themselves as an entrepreneur. Because no one can tear your publication apart, right? Because he's shooting his own content, he writes his own stuff, he also lays it out, he puts it up, he owns the files. That's one thing I really admired about him. And I was telling him about, I wish we would do more things. And all of a sudden I was like, we want to interview you. He was like, for real? When? I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
I said, you're inspiration because you're like, all the amputees are talking to you. You created this circle. You have this new division of like, discussing and having a conversation with people who are amputees and disabled for whatever reason. And he took these most beautiful pictures of himself and everyone that he was around him. And I know there's a young lady that was an amputee as well. And he said
Hmm.
that he loves her. And then he left a message on his Instagram and said she passed away or something. And I immediately went to his
Mm.
box and said, "Stay strong. Hope you're okay." And he was like, "Yeah, I'm fine. I just can't believe it, man. And I was like, I know I just saw you post about her. And that's the reason why we wanted to do something on you, because you move like water and you're fluid, no matter what.
Yeah.
Jerris never stops. Before becoming an amputee to after becoming an amputee, he always figured out ways on how to keep it going. And I think that's the resilience and the brilliance of where we're from Detroit, being from a
Yeah.
town that's so small but large, that's now experiencing a regrowth. I told him about that. And I also talked about his mother and how I liked the way he was redoing his mom's house. And he shared
Hmm.
that with everybody in his stories, how he's redoing her floor,
Hmm.
doing her kitchen or something. And then and I was gonna ask you, have you ever spoken to his mom, or have you reached out to her, or vice versa?
No, I have not. I wasn't. She would always spoke about his mother, but I did not know her personally. I know he would talk about we're going on vacation together, so they would go to all types of islands and whatnot together. But I actually never got the honor of meeting her personally.
No, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, because I know I was like, I guess, he was very, I like what I liked about him too. He was private, very private
Hmm.
person, and I respected that, and I love that about him. Are there any times that you felt that he should have? Are there times you felt that he broke a barrier, that he should have gotten more recognition?
Absolutely. I think that well, first of all, we know Obvious Magazine. I also want to give you your roses too with 360 because, I definitely respect your work and your hustle and what you've done with that magazine and staying consistent. I know it's not an easy industry at all. So I want to give you your rose as well. But yeah, I think that the magazine, but also, his walk of life as amputee. I mean, I've never seen anybody have those high fashion amputee legs. I mean, he loved a good prosthetic with all types of crazy designs and whatnot. And he would use, his story to influence people. We did a panel discussion together out here in Los Angeles, and he was one of the panelists. And he just really like used that opportunity to just have authentic, genuine conversations about what his life looked like now, and not using it as a crutch or anything like that, but just kind of being an advocate for people and for anybody really who has gone through something that traumatic, and you can overcome anything. And I think that that part too, and doing it with high fashion too. I mean, it was never a woe is me moment with him. It was like, okay, this is what it is. Well, guess what? I'm still gonna be Jerris. I'm gonna put this tribal design tattoo I got custom, not cut tattoo, amputee leg on me, and I'm still gonna be the high fashion person out there and still live my best life. And so I think that, just it's not only, about, surgery or losing a leg or prosthetics. I think it's more about just the tenacity that he had and the energy that he had. Like I said, he would vocalize, at least to me, that, it was difficult for him to go through that, but he would never let that be known publicly. And he was like, if this is my life now, it's going to look like this, and I'm still me.